everyone, and welcome to What's the Point, a conversation series between the Office of Alumni Engagement and Giving at Wake Park University and our wonderful alumni. Today we have a really fabulous guest to talk with you, and I'm going to give her the opportunity to introduce herself, but we're really looking forward to our conversation. So if you don't mind introducing yourself and what you studied at Point Park.
My name is Kat Schuler, and I studied sport, art, and entertainment management within the business school.
I originally pitched this idea to you as like a coffee style chat. So I have a cup of tea here. I wondered if you had anything.
Ooh, I have a very special coffee mug from a potter in the town where I'm from.
Are you a big like coffee or tea person, or kind of what's your go-to?
I'm big coffee because I really feel like that caffeine jolt just gets right in you very quickly. The tea is kind of too mellow for me, but I like tea in the evenings. What about you?
I am a big tea. I like want to act like I really like coffee, but I like sugary coffee. I really like tea. So I'm
Yeah.
more of like an English breakfast person.
Oh, I love that.
So yeah, and I have herbal tea. I have this teapot that does loose leaf tea, so I like that too.
Oh, that is very cool. That is very cool. A friend of mine that she's very into tea and she buys all these different loose leaf teas and then creates, a concoction every time we go to
Ah,
her house.
I never thought about. Do you remember going to Tivana like in high school, and you would go and they would like do that thing where they like take the lid and like push the smells towards you, and it was the coolest thing ever.
That is
Um,
cool. I've never been to a Tivana place, but that sounds amazing.
yeah, there was like now they're not really at the mall anymore, but it was like such an experience. Like if you were really into tea, to like go and like see what they had and everything.
Right. She
So
goes to the place in Garfield called um Bantha Tea Bar.
I've never heard of that, but I might check that out.
You should go. If you like tea, you will love it. It is like a little oasis.
Hmm.
Granted, I don't know. Can you go right now?
That's true. I might have to wait a while before I can go. Yeah.
I don't know.
Speaking of that, so amidst all the COVID-19 stuff, has there been a hobby or like an activity that you have like recently picked up or like revisited now that we are arguably probably spending more time at home or more time not going out to places?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a hobby that I've sort of expanded upon is gardening. I really got my gardening game. It has expanded. It is huge. I've taken over a vacant lot beside the bakery and I've turned it
Wow.
into sort of like a little watershed bioswell and just a lot of gardening at home. I turned some pallets into a little fence. I stained them. So there I have been doing a lot of gardening. But now we're in a drought, so all the plants that I just planted are on the verge of collapse.
Oh
You know,
no.
so hopefully, but I've been watering them diligently, remulching. So that's been nice, spending time outside and gardening. And also doing, because we've had to do more Zoom videos. So I've been learning how to do more video editing while at home too, which is fun.
Yeah, it's one of those necessary skills that you didn't think was necessary, but it's definitely necessary.
It's like the equivalent of writing a paper right now. You just need it. It's so necessary in this time.
So I know you mentioned a moment ago the bakery, and so I want to make sure I ask you about that. But I think when I had originally shared with you, our focus with this series is to really spend some time talking with alumni, because even though we can't connect in person right now, we can connect virtually and really hear their stories and share their stories. So if you don't mind telling me a little bit about the bakery and rolling pepperoni, and just a little bit about your work there.
Well, okay, so I started a bakery called Rolling Pepperoni in 2015 while I was a senior at Point Park. It is a bakery that focuses on making pepperoni rolls, important part of West Virginian culture as well as Appalachian culture. Um, but it's not just about the pepperoni rolls. While I was at Point Park, I was very into humanitarianism. I was very into community work, very into volunteer work, and sort of found through my deep dive that Point Park had allowed me to do while I was there, it's very hard to actually help a community through donations or through volunteering. You sort of approach a community at the edges, but it's really hard to help solve a problem that's connected to the root of whatever's happening. So within my business class, I learned about social enterprises. And social enterprises are a business that, operate as a business. They're funded through profit, but they're focused on social missions. And so through the bakery, we share stories of all different Appalachian stakeholders, different individuals in Pittsburgh and West Virginia and Maine and Kentucky. And we do this in an effort to kind of show people that rural and urban communities from the region, we're all kind of the same. And the differences that we have are more interesting than they are divisive. Really brings me a lot of joy, and we're opening up a large bakery space. Hopefully, the door should be open next month, and we are going to have sort of a living gallery now from all of the stories that have been
Oh,
shared. So there'll be information, because we have all these videos now from being in COVID. So we'll use the videos to help people share their messages. We'll have wares, and then of course pepperoni rolls, but all different variations, not just pepperoni rolls. There's vegan options. We have peppers, we have carrots, radishes. It's all about taking something that we know and we love and then seeing where it can go, but without going too far from where it started.
that's what a unique concept of taking like the food to share, like the social. I don't know if social mission is the right word, but like really like educational, like because I think about some of the best conversations I've had in my community have been like over food. So like, what a unique concept to really like bring that kind of like to life.
Absolutely. I think some people think, wow, this what a curious way to go about it. But when we think about, what if Taco Bell, instead of making like the ranch nacho Dorito, made, created their own versions, but also used it, used the wrappers, all of those Taco Bell wrappers, all of those taco wrappers,
Mhm.
use those to help share messages from which the taco comes from.
Right, and like understanding like how it fits into the bigger picture. It's not like it isn't just this food item. It's this conversation of what this food item like represents.
Exactly. And the conversation just goes and goes and goes. And it's really fun to talk about Appalachian history because it's so integral to the region's development. And everyone has a really heartfelt story, not even a heartfelt, like intrinsically valuable to their family and to their life story.
Like fully transparently, like I didn't know that much about Appalachian culture. I'm not from that region, and I've not been exposed to it, but it's very fascinating. I was looking at your website prior and kind of just researching to see, and I hadn't really realized how much I was familiar with, even if I didn't really understand. Like when you mentioned things, I was like, okay, I know what this is, but I didn't realize that how to connect the dots.
Exactly. You're learning information through food, and it's casual, and it comes from individual, there's stories from the community. It's so easy to just let the dots continue to connect and unravel onto each other.
I can't even imagine the challenge of opening my own business as a senior at school. So how did you approach, like what inspired you to start it then? Like what an incredible journey. How was all that?
When I was a senior at Point Park, I was getting ready to go to graduate school, and I was going to study. I was going to get a dual master's in business and public administration, which is sort of the degree that you get when you want to start a social enterprise, when you want
Okay.
to, do a business yet focus on a social mission. And as I was applying to all these different graduate programs, I kept writing the same essay. And the essay revolved around how I grew up in Elkins, how there were a lot of challenges, how it was very hard for me to find my way until I moved to Pittsburgh. And being in a more urban area with so many more opportunities, so many resources, and then also at Point Park. And Point Park had a huge role in changing the direction of my life. I mean, uh, my family and I say that Point Park saved my life. I mean, it
Oh,
just caught me and it was right there for me. And thinking about that transition, coming from the country, void of resources, struggling, and then moving to an urban center with lots of resources, lots of opportunities to be creative and think outside of the box, that really changed the course of my life. And when I analyze that change, the growth that I was able to obtain in an urban center, it made me think, well, why not in West Virginia? Why not? Why doesn't this exist in a rural area? Why can't it? Is there a lack of resources in general that it can't get that far? Why not? And I kept writing this essay to all of my graduate schools, and it just sort of came to me. I thought, wow, like I have seen a problem, and I sort of feel like I understand how to root it out at basically the understanding of us understanding each other better. And it was sort of surprisingly easy to start the business while in school because I was full of so much creative inspiration. I was around my professors that taught me about all these theories. I would talk to them. I was learning more theories. I would come up with an idea and then go to a class and then immediately, you know, have that idea somewhat talked about, somewhat covered in the class, and I could rehone what I was thinking about. And I was around, the old someone that worked in the student activities office. He made my website. So there, a girl that worked with me in cab, she helped design the logo. So there's all these, starting it in college was actually, the momentum was so there. I couldn't imagine not starting it in college. Really, it would be feel kind of like I wouldn't know where to go, surprisingly.
huh. Like when I think of like what is Point Park, it's this network of these people that just like they have one speed and it's go. They like go and they tackle things and they have like 18 internships and it's amazing and incredibly impressive and deeply humbling to just like watch them go. Like they're gonna go conquer whatever they're set out to conquer. So to hear like, yeah, like you were so inspired, by that, and you had this team of people through your community that were like, "Yep, we'll help you. Like, what do you need?" Like that's so fascinating.
Yeah, that's the epitome. What do you need? Everyone was just like, okay. That was the general answer. Okay.
Right?
What do you need? How can we help? We're here to help you. We're here to support you. And yeah, it probably has a lot to do with why I was able to even get off the ground.
I would assume there's probably a lot of parallels from that initial momentum to now with the change to like expand and to have like the more, I don't know if like gallery center bakery is like a good like catch all, but like that, I don't know what the right terminology would be, but that like that now that you're in this next transitional phase. So do
Hmm.
you feel like that momentum is like paralleled now, or like how has this experience been different as well?
Yeah, the go go the experience of being go 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 less, it's not there as much. I've been out of school for 5 years, so I do find myself longing for a community that represents that same type of that's the same pace, but I am returning to Point Park for graduate school.
Congratulations!
I mean, everything isn't like totally finalized, but I'm thinking that
Starting to material, yeah, like
yep, and it actually feels like the right decision to return for information systems and business analytics because, you know, I'm at a new creative place in the business expansion. It's got to be the whole process of operating and running a business at the scale that I had been running it's finished. So now I have to rethink every single process, and that returning to school just for the night and weekend master's program seems like the best way to really again recharge that go and the momentum and the ability to self critique and think push yourself to think harder. um, that that is sort of how I'm hoping to match that same momentum. But over the years, Point Park has really supported me. I've done fundraisers for students and faculty. Whenever there were moments of growth in the business, I would reach out to professors and they were always there for me. All the professors from the business school were so important to me and they still are very important to me.
your first time as a student at Point Park, not your last time as a student at Point Park. What were you? Tell me a little bit about your experience then, like coming to Pittsburgh and really getting involved. Like what? Like share with us a little bit about that story.
Well, I came to Point Park as a transfer student. So I started college
Okay.
West Virginia University, which is where I'm from. And I went there because all my friends were going there and it seemed fine. But it was a huge university and a terrible choice for me. Not the right choice. Too big, too
Gotcha.
anonymous, it just wasn't the right choice for me. And I took a year off of school and went to Point Park because I had danced and I wasn't going to dance again, but I was familiar with Point Park through studying dance throughout high school and my time at WVU. And when I went to Point Park, I was living in Uniontown. So I would have to I had to drive. I had to leave my house at 5:45 in the morning to get to class at 8 a.m. in
Oh
downtown
my gosh.
Pittsburgh. It was a total shift. I didn't know where I was going or what I was doing. I was so afraid. Um, it was it was really a hard shift, and I tried really hard and I did the best that I could, and I was still working. And while I lived in Uniontown, it was sort of my first semester there, so I was still working. I was sort of one foot in, one foot in real life. And after my first semester at Point Park, I got straight A's, which I hadn't gotten in a while, and it felt so good. I thought, wow, this is where I belong. I can really feel myself thriving and doing so well here. And my professors really care about me. And this is incredible. So after that, then I moved to Pittsburgh and I quickly joined the Outdoor Adventure Club. I joined CAB. Um, I got an internship with Dreams of Hope and at Shadyside Academy through the work study program. You know, as soon as I was ready to immerse, Point Park was so there. And it was so nice too, because if you want to get involved in Point Park, it is not hard. You can lead a club if you want to. You can command a budget for a club to do anything you want,
Right.
which is incredible.
like, like part of your educational experience is like, yes, like you have to learn the academic work, but also it's like developing competencies, like being able to like, like these are like the outside of the classroom, like, like life skills, to use that term. But the idea of like being able to like facilitate an event, or being able to like go through a process and organize a group of volunteers, like those are so important to being able to do that in your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're very scary skills. Like even thinking now, oh, to host an event sounds very stressful. But while at Point Park, it's so, you just have so many people cheering you on, ready to help you, that it just goes off without a hitch. And then as soon as that happens, as soon as you're able to do something that you didn't think you could do, beyond academics, the academics are there. It is a challenge. You're going to work hard. But like you said, the life skills really give you a new perspective of what you can do. It helps you get to know you better as opposed to just a topic in class, you
And
know?
I would think that lesson and all those experiences would parallel really well to, I would assume, owning my, like if I was to own my own business, there's like an inherent level of adaptability, but also like an ability to like sit down and like evaluate constantly. So I would assume there'd be a lot of parallels between the two.
Certainly. Yeah, absolutely. It definitely gave me the confidence to persist and, like you said, to be able to self-critique, to come back, analyze what happened, analyze the expectations, the outcome, the process, and just continue to just have the tenacity to keep going. And that it's not about you, it's not about the event, it's about who you're doing it for.
And that's a hard lesson, when you're like 20 years old, like that's something you have to really like, and she said like that's greater social responsibility. Sometimes like it takes some experiences to see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over the last few months, how has your experience with owning rolling pepperoni really changed as a result of like the changing world we live in?
Well, it's changed a lot. It's changed a lot. It's been really challenging. There's been a lot of, it's basically been like starting over at square one in the middle of a worldwide crisis. I mean,
Yeah.
it has been stressful. It has been, talk about self analysis. We've had to really redo and rethink a lot of things. Since we make pepperoni rolls, we make our own pepperoni, which we make in
Okay.
very small batches through the help of a salami maker in Pittsburgh. But because of COVID, the pork market has crashed and we can't make
Oh.
small batches of pepperoni anymore. So even like the one of the main pillars of our product, we don't have anymore. So we've had to readapt, find a new pepperoni that isn't ours, and learn to accept that. And remember, it's not about the fancy pepperoni that we were making, it's about the people in the city that are craving a pepperoni roll because maybe they're from West Virginia and don't have the opportunity to live there. So it's it has been full of reevaluations. We've really doubled down on our story effort. That has been a huge, a lot of the businesses that we sell to are closed right now. So we've sort of, with that extra time, we've focused on, sharing stories that bring people together. That has been an important piece of our work. Applying for grants. I hadn't
Yeah.
really applied to many grants before. Now I'm applying to grants like crazy. And that's a new skill. That is not a skill that I've necessarily honed, but I'm just working through that a lot now. And it is stressful. And I don't like reevaluating. Everything was churning along so well. It's not enjoyable to redo this. But again, like we were talking about just to remember why you're doing this, that it's not necessarily about me, it's not necessarily about the roll or the process, but it's about people that appreciate being able to get a pepperoni roll at stage AE. You know, that's who are those people and how can we help them?
Well, and yeah, like change is hard, and unfortunately, it's like it's been like a little bit of like a change tornado. Like there's just been like so much change all at once, and that would be like such a challenge to kind of like how do we like adapt to this?
You said that well. A change tornado. Yeah. Mhm.
Like I can't even and unfortunately like I don't think like things are gonna like it's gonna change again. Like
Yeah, it's
so
gonna keep changing, which hopefully now we're all just really ready for anything, you
right
know.
like we're so good at adapting.
We're so good at adapting. We're very nimble right now. Our feet are not planted. We're just in the tornado, whatever, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has been stressful, but that's actually one of the reasons why I'm returning to grad school because I need some strong consistency and leadership right now. And knowing that I can go back to Point Park and manage a night and weekend master's program while still running a business and knowing like I'm going back to Point Park because I want, you know, I want that same support that I had before and it's there for me. And that's really special that in this moment of crisis and change that I can say, okay, I'm going to go, you know, get my feet planted at Point Park and keep going, you know, keep being changed by the tornado, but I'm still able to get my bearings with the Point Park Business School. And I am so grateful for that. That is, it really gives me a lot of hope for thinking about how to make it out of the tornado.
So you had talked about like connecting with your community and really like focusing on like okay so like the way that things had been chugging along was changing but gave you an opportunity to connect with your community. So tell me a little bit about the porch talks that you've been having.
Right. Sorry, I should have been more specific. So, yeah, through the, you know, over COVID, we've, you know, not been able to print as many stories as normal. So normally our story project goes on the wrappers of the rolls. But because
Okay.
all of the businesses that we sell to are closed right now, there aren't that many wrappers going out for circulation. So uh, we created a online little conversation called Porch Talks, where one of our story coordinators interviews a stakeholder from the Appalachian region. And generally we try to pick someone that is currently relevant within the COVID narrative. Our story project is really to, like I said, bridge this divide between urban and rural communities in the region. And COVID, as we've all seen, is playing out very differently in different places, you know?
Mhm.
So, you know, in Millvale, every Tuesday and Thursday, we hand out food, uh, like tons and tons of food every twice a week to anyone who needs it. And it's been going on since the beginning of COVID. But these are we're able to do that because of systems that already exist and have a strong foundation and strong support by foundations in this urban center. But in a more rural area, are people able to access food if you know there's a shortage, if they need help, if what is
Right.
that right? So I think we've been trying to help bring people together around COVID topics that we can all ask each other about, you know?
And for folks watching, we will link to more information about the porch talks. So if you're curious and would like to experience this for yourself, we can make sure that you have access to that resource. And I love a good quote. I love a good like mantra. But do you have a favorite or one that you often think of that this comes to mind?
I don't know. There are a lot of different quotes that I think of throughout the day.
That's a good thing too. Like,
I think one that a quote of Eleanor Roosevelt that drove me a lot at the beginning of my career was that I mean it's a little bit of a tongue twister, so let me make sure I say it correctly. But um it is it's good for everyone. It's good for everyone when everyone is good. So I think that it really helps me to move through community work because I'm very invested in humanitarian work. And it really, when I heard the quote, it was mind blowing. It was like, wow, it's good for everyone when everyone's good, of course. But it sounds so obvious when you say it. But it really helped me to understand that when you give and when you take time to make other people's lives better, it's good for you too. And it's good for everyone else around, for all the people that you can't see, all the outcomes that you're not experiencing, all the unplanned effects.
I know that you're very involved with CAB and still as an alumni, like, and you're also connected to your mentors and professors and community. But what are some ways you're still connected? And like, why do you think that matters?
Connections are everything when it comes to success in community. The connections, the and all of the connections from Point Park, because it was such a small community. They're very strong connections. We all know each other very well.
That's so true. All of those things, and the fact that like those relationships matter, and it's not just like for the 4 years and moving on.
I would just say, if anyone is listening, go to Point Park.
I agree.
Go to Point Park. Point Park is the best. I love Point Park.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Gosh, this has just been such a wonderful conversation. I'm very grateful that you shared with us today and helped us discover what's the point. So,
Yeah. Thank you. It's been great getting to know you, and this has been a really fun conversation. I think about how much Point Park means to me a lot, and I'm really happy to be able to go on the record and say, like, Point Park was everything for me.